News time is 9 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Friday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast. Brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agents in Clinton. The DeWitt County Sheriff's Office is in the midst of a radio upgrade. Sheriff Mike Walker explains the current radio system they have is starting to become too outdated to be effective, and they're going to an improved system that's similar to something they had nearly 30 years ago.
We're upgrading our radio system at the Sheriff's Office. We have two primary radio channels for the Sheriff's Office, and CENTCOM 1 and CENTCOM 2, and then we also have DeWitt Fire, which the ambulance and fire department runs off of. Back in, I think it's like 2011, they had a narrow band compliance issue went into effect, so we had to upgrade all of our radios. And when we did that, we went to a system that had a repeater in Clinton and a repeater in Farmer City, and then repeaters, in-car repeaters, which is supposed to help boost the signal out to those. So last several years, that's been kind of failing for either age of equipment or just not working properly. So we started looking into it and got some input from a radio vendor, put together a plan, and we are now going to go back to a similar system we had, similar to what we had about 30 years ago when I first started, and we're going to have 5 different sites in the county. There will be one in Kinney, one in Waynesville, one in Clinton, Farmer City, and Weldon. So that will give us greater countywide coverage. So It's about, my understanding, talking to the vendor, it's about probably 4 to 5 weeks away from being online, and CENTCOM 1 and CENTCOM 2 will be on that system. And eventually we hope to, when the city of Clinton gets some upgrades on their radio system, we're hoping to go digital, encrypted digital on the CENTCOM 1 side.
According to the sheriff, the new radio system will be funded with ARPA money. He notes this will not only benefit the sheriff's office, but most first responding agencies within the county.
Before it was called a voter system, and this is similar to that. That system was going, back in 2011, that system was going to have to go by the wayside regardless because it was not narrowband compliant. We got some grants and things back there, helped through EMA, and purchased all new mobile radios and portable radios, which we're still using. They're still functioning properly. It's just the makeup of the system that's not performing as well. We've had some serious issues and it's just not necessarily one side of the county to the other. It's just certain areas, and there's no rhyme or reason. We've been fighting that for probably the last 4 or 5 years. The radio vendor that we currently use would come in and do some tuning of our radios and tuning of the system, and it'd help in some areas and not in others, and it wouldn't last, so we were able to, we needed to do something, and the county was able to, through the ARPA money, the county paid for the upgrade to CENTCOM 1, and the ETSB board paid for the upgrade of CENTCOM 2, which will make those both countywide. Right now, CENTCOM 1 is very limited, or CENTCOM 2 is very limited coverage because it's the old Clinton PD channel. The other night, Thursday night at our ETSB board meeting, we had some discussion about possibly in the future upgrading the DeWitt Fire channel, which all the fire departments and EMS works off of.
Many have questioned why the Sheriff's Department wants to go to digital radios, but Sheriff Walker says it is becoming an issue of officer safety, and it's a trend many law enforcement agencies are going to nationwide.
We've talked about this before, and I know some people in the community have questioned why we want to go to digital and have a secured channel. It's getting to be a public or an officer safety issue and a public safety issue. We've had several incidents where our deputies or the city police or even Farmer City Police arrived at a residence or something, and either the resident that we're looking for or the neighbors will come out and say, oh yeah, we knew you were coming. Now you get a situation that has maybe a domestic or something like that, and they hear that their spouse or whatever is called 911, they're being dispatched on their scanner, that can cause some problems. If it's a serious situation, they can barricade themselves in there, and now, they know we're coming. They can be sitting there waiting for us, and bad things can happen. That's the plan anyway, and that's the reason why. And I know a lot of agencies throughout the state, throughout the nation, are going to that simply because of officer safety.
The digital communication system for the sheriff's office leads many to question those who listen to the police scanners, and the sheriff has more thoughts on that, and we'll hear those next week on Regional Radio. Social Security has announced some changes to how they collect overpayment and options that folks have if they get overpaid. If you are overpaid, you'll receive an overpayment notice, and you will have a few options. On the WHOW Morning Show Thursday, Jack Myers with Social Security told Regional Radio you can repay the overpayment, and if you agree with the overpayment and are currently receiving benefits, you can make payment through monthly benefit withholdings or a repayment plan. If you are not currently receiving benefits, you can make the full or partial payments using pay.gov, your bank's online bill pay option, or just writing a check.
With the massive scale of beneficiaries that we have, occasionally, even though we try to get it right, we sometimes get it wrong, right? And sometimes we pay beneficiaries more than they're due, which creates an overpayment. When you look at it, the scale of people, it's not very common. We have a high degree of accuracy, but when it does happen, Congress requires that we make every effort to recover those overpaid benefits. And so that's something that Commissioner O'Malley was addressing, because he noted that recovering that overpayment without regard to the larger purpose of our Social Security program can result in injustices to individuals. And so that's where he's announced some updates in how we're going to address these improper payments going forward. Basically how we're going to collect that money is some of what's being changed. And so let's talk a little bit about what happens when a person does get overpaid. They have options, right? They can choose to repay the overpayment. Sometimes you get overpaid and you know it. Something happened, you were working, you made more than you should have made, that, you're overpaid, that's fine, and you really just want to focus on how to get that money paid back. So, repaying is one option.
If you do not respond to an overpayment notice, the default withholding will be 10% of your benefit instead of 100%, as it may have been in the past. Myers notes this will be similar to the way SSI overpayments are also collected.
But one of the things I think that's real important to talk about, Seth, and this is one of the changes that Commissioner O'Malley recently announced, it used to be that if we send you a letter telling you that you're overpaid, then you would have some time to respond, right? You have some time to say, hey, I want to pay it back, but maybe I can't pay it back all at once, so I'd like to set up a payment plan. If you didn't respond, the default option used to be that eventually we would just start recovering that overpayment by withholding 100% of your Social Security payment. Mm-hmm. Well, this is the huge news. Now what we're going to be doing is, if you don't respond, we're going to be withholding 10% of your monthly benefit to apply to that overpayment instead of the 100. So that's kind of similar to what we do with the SSI, Supplemental Security Income Program, but now that rule is going to be applied to Social Security benefits, and I think it's going to make a big difference in helping people get that overpayment paid back, but still have some funds to get by, to pay for the basic needs of life, on a day-to-day basis. So that's a big change, and again, that's something that is recently been announced, but it is currently in effect. We have to make some systems changes, so if you're paying back more than the 10%, you could contact your local office and ask for that to be adjusted.
Even with an SSA 634 and proof of your income and expenses, the lowest repayment plan Social Security can approve is $10 a month. According to Myers, Social Security does not charge interest on overpayment debt, and if you agree with the facts of the overpayment or believe the amount is incorrect, you can request a review of the decision.
Another thing to kind of touch on, so, I mentioned that you have options when you get overpaid. Mm-hmm. Repaying is one, and, you can do payment plans. We ask that you get it paid back within 60 months. If that won't work, there's a possibility that we could accept, a longer period to repay. And what I'm talking about there is if the 10% withholding is too high and you want a lesser withholding, potentially we could approve that. You're going to have to kind of talk with us and give us some, documentation on why that's just too much for you. But that's just one. It's one of your options, repaying. There's also the ability to request an appeal. So if you don't agree with the facts of the overpayment, if you think that it's wrong, you can request an appeal. You have 60 days to do that. And the letter that we send you announcing the overpayment would tell you about that.
If you believe you did not cause the overpayment and the overpayment is unfair, or you can't afford to repay the overpayment, request to relieve some or all of the amount due.
And then another option that you would have is if you didn't believe that you caused the overpayment, you could request what we call a waiver. So, basically what that is, Seth, is it says, you know what, okay, I see what you're saying. I think that the overpayment is accurate, but I just don't think it was my fault. I don't think I caused it. I don't think I should have to repay it. I can't afford to repay it. That's something where you could ask for that waiver, and we would take a look at that and see if we could approve that. So those are some changes, or those are the options: repay it, request an appeal, request a waiver. And again, some of the changes that were made or announced recently by Commissioner O'Malley is that he wants to make it easier for overpaid beneficiaries to request the waiver, and kind of wants to reshape the way that we look at the burden of proof.
You can visit or call your local Social Security office at 800-772-1213. There's much more to consider on this topic, and we'll have more with Myers next week on Regional Radio. News time is 21 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Friday. We've got a lot more coming your way next on The Morning Show.
Spring is in the air, so it's time to choose your new Silverado. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverados with springtime savings and special finance rates. Choose from regular cabs, double cabs, or crew cabs in gas or diesel. We are also allowing extra money for your trade on all new Silverados this month. See our springtime Silverado inventory at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
News time, 21 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Friday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with the folks today for this expanded local newscast. There's a new leader coming for the Illinois Department of Insurance. This week, Governor J.B. Pritzker announced State Senator Ann Gillespie from Arlington Heights would take over as the acting director of the agency. Currently, the governor is pushing for broad changes to the regulation of the health insurance industry. Governor Pritzker says there is not a connection to her entry to the position and his proposed changes.
She is a terrific advocate for health insurance for everybody in the state of Illinois. She has a history in the industry, understands it very well from the inside. It's important. It's a complex industry. We're not just talking about health insurance. We're talking about every kind of insurance that the Department of Insurance is engaged in. And she brings a tremendous amount of private sector experience. And then, of course, since 2018, I think we were elected at the same time, she brings, 6 years of experience in the public sector as well. So I'm very excited to work with her. I think she'll be a great leader.
The Health Care Protection Act, if passed, would allow the department to approve or reject health insurance rate increases for some plans and insurers. The coolest thing made in Illinois is a 1 million-pound truck. The Illinois Manufacturers Association puts on a yearly contest to find the item, and this year it's a mining truck from Komatsu. Dan Buchanan, a VP with the company, says it's a great honor to win.
We're proud to represent Illinois and all the manufacturing, the great manufacturing that happens in Illinois. I'm really proud of all the men and women in Peoria who work day in and day out to build these machines. As you see, I believe they are coolest machines on the planet, not just in Illinois. These machines are manufactured in Peoria and shipped around the world to support mining the minerals and materials that are required to do this manufacturing around the globe. So
the truck can haul 400 tons and was one of more than 200 entries in the 5th annual contest. Farmers across the state should have a good window for planting Friday through early next week with dry conditions and warm temperatures in the forecast. A few reminders from Illinois Farm Bureau Association Director of Transportation and Infrastructure, Rodney Knittel.
I think this spring is going to be a lot different when the time comes. We haven't had a lot in the ground at all as of yet, and so I just predict that when the right soil conditions come, which it looks like maybe possibly here very quickly, that we're going to see a tremendous amount of traffic on the rural roads here very quickly with slow-moving vehicles, planters, tillage equipment, seed tenders, all kinds of equipment, obviously, traveling the rural roadways. And when that happens, obviously, our farmers, we have to be prepared for sharing the road with others, but we also really ask all the motorists just to slow down during this season and realize that we both have to share the road and be safe. Ultimately, as we always say, we all just really want to be home safe and to make it all home to our families, and just pray that nothing serious or no accidents occur. But we just got to be prepared and have our head on a swivel here when we're on the roads.
Only 2% of the state's corn and soybean crops are currently in the ground. April is Earth Month, and the St. Louis District Dairy Council is highlighting the 96% of U.S. farms that are family-owned and operated. According to the Dairy Council, milk is one of the most regulated products on grocery store shelves, causing farmers to treat their heads of cattle almost like family members. Kelsey Bentledge is a registered dietitian and educator with the Dairy Council and says animal care is the priority of dairy farmers as happy and healthy cows produce more milk.
There are tons of regulations whenever it comes to farming in general, but especially with dairy farms. There are tons of inspections and different regulations, especially with farm care practices that go on. And that the dairy industry is also having a ton of initiatives going forward, working on sustainability and how farms can be more sustainable. So there's a lot of regulations that go into dairy farming that a lot of people wouldn't even think about, in their daily life. So if a cow isn't comfortable, she's not going to be able to produce a lot of milk or even any milk at all. So healthy cows are happy cows, and happy cows make more milk. And dairy farmers, they really work hard to keep their herd happy and healthy by providing clean, comfortable housing, lots of fresh access to food and water, medical attention if it's necessary.
Farmers are strategic when thinking of their water use footprint. Current farm operations reuse the same water for different purposes 5 to 6 different times, according to Bentledge.
Absolutely. Water is a very valuable resource, and dairy farmers are very conscious of that. So there's lots of ways on their farm that they actually reuse and recycle water. So one way is that one thing I always tell people is that water on a dairy farm can be used up to 5 or 6 times in different ways. Wow. So water is actually used for keeping the milk tanks cool. So they're like really large refrigerators that store all of the milk. Water is used to cool down that milk. That's one way that it's used. And then it's already cool, so they use it for the drinking water for the cows so that they're getting fresh, cold water to drink. So that's the second way that they use it. They also use it to wash away waste in the cow barns where the cows are staying, because, cows aren't potty trained, so it helps to wash away that waste. And then it's eventually used to irrigate the crops for the field.
Cow manure is being used for more than just nutrient-rich fertilizer. Manure can be converted into renewable energy.
So this is actually a brand new thing that's coming out in the dairy industry. Okay. So we're back to the manure talk, the dirty side
sure.
of dairy farming. But it's actually, manure is such a valuable resource, and they actually are creating these new methane digesters. And basically what they do is they heat the manure, and then the bacteria involved breaks down the manure and creates gas or methane, and that methane is being converted into energy or electricity. It's a really amazing way to keep utilizing these resources that are typically just considered waste, right? Manure is waste, but we're using it as fertilizer, and now we're using it to create electricity and finding new and innovative ways to be sustainable. It's really amazing to see.
Visit stldairycouncil.org or find them on Facebook, Instagram, and for many more recipes as well. News time, 29 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Friday. Coverage of news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. We stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance. Local sports follows a look at network news and network sports.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. Israel is putting Iran on notice. Israel's foreign minister says any attack launched against the Jewish state from Iranian territory will be met with an identical response from Israel. That is, an Israeli strike inside of Iran. More concerns being raised about Russian interference in elections, but not in the U.S. This time it's the Belgian Prime Minister announcing an investigation into suspected Russian interference in Europe-wide elections scheduled for June. A plan to change the name of the Oakland, California airport has been cleared for takeoff, although it could face a lawsuit from officials in San Francisco. A top Chinese official visiting North Korea has spoken with his counterpart in Pyongyang, talking about how to boost their nation's cooperation on various issues. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 86 points, NASDAQ futures off 79. More details at srnnews.com.
You know, these days...
With SRN Sports, I'm Ron DeRockstra. Bryson DeChambeau opened with a 65 for his best start in a major, and he leads by one shot over world's number one Scottie Scheffler at the Masters. DeChambeau says he's really come to respect the challenges of the course.
For me, I have a level of respect for this golf course that's a little bit different than a couple years ago. Clearly today was a great test of golf, and I was able to conquer a very difficult golf course today.
A number of players still on the course when play was called because of darkness, thanks to 2.5-hour weather delay. In the NHL, the Penguins beat the Wings 6-5 in overtime. Devils same score over the Maple Leafs in regulation. Flyers snap an 8-game skid, beat the Rangers 4-1. Sabres 4-2 over the Caps. Panthers shut out the Blue Jackets 4-0. Senators 3-2 over the Lightning. Islanders beat the Canadiens. The Jets shut out the Stars. Sharks beat the Kraken. And the Kings beat the Flames. SRN Sports. Baseball, 2 postponements yesterday. Brewers and the Reds, Tigers and the Twins because of weather. Orioles post 6 runs in the 10th inning. They beat Boston 9-4. Mets rout the Braves 14-4. Phillies beat the Pirates 5-1. Royals use a 9-run first inning to clobber the Astros 13-3. Bobby Witt Jr. had 4 hits, including 2 home runs, 5 RBI on the day. J.P. Sears carries a no-hit bid into the 7th inning. A's shut out the Rangers 1-0. In NBA action, 5 games. Jazz snap a 13-game losing streak, 124-121 over the Rockets. Pelicans beat the Kings, 135-123. Warriors win their 3rd straight, 192 over the Trailblazers. Bulls send the Pistons to their franchise record 67th straight loss of the season, 127-105. DeMar DeRozan with 39 points. And it was the Knicks beating the Celtics, 118-109. Jalen Brunson with 39 points. SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Coy Williams hit a home run and drove in 3, backing a stellar outing from Ike Young as Monticello picked up a statement 6-inning run rule win over Tolono Unity 11-1 in Illini Prairie Conference baseball action in Tolono Thursday. Young struck out 9 in 6 innings. The junior allowed a run on 4 hits and permitted a walk. He went 1 for 3 with a double and scored twice at the plate. Williams paced another solid day for Monticello's offense. He was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Matt Swartz finished 2 for 5 with a pair of RBIs, while Colton Vance, Luke Teschke, Jacob Long, Dylan Brown, and Raiden Colbert drove in runs for the Sages. Trey Hogger doubled in the only run for the Rockets. Monticello goes to 18-0 overall and 4-0 in the Illini Prairie Conference. They host Williamsville and PBL on Saturday. Maroa-Forsyth outslugged New Berlin 20-10 Thursday in Sangamo Conference baseball from Forsyth. After the teams played to a 6-all tie through the first 2 innings, the Trojans outscored the Pretzels 14-4 the rest of the way, putting the game away with a 7-run 5th inning and a 5-run 6th inning. Andy Munjoy went deep, finishing 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored to pace the Trojans. Connor Kelly went 1 for 3 with a triple and 3 RBIs. Caden Maurer was a home run short of the cycle for the Trojans, finishing 3 for 5 on a double and a triple with 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored. Tate Brandenburg, Ian Reed, Miles Leach, Ace Giles, and Zane Giles all hit doubles for Maroa-Forsyth. Ace, Giles, and Reed had 2 RBIs apiece. The Trojans go to 12-0 overall and 2-0 in the Sangamo Conference. They host Pontiac on Saturday. Mount Pulaski scored 6 runs in the 5th inning to separate and beat Midwest Central 10-2 in Tomahawk Conference baseball Thursday in Mount Pulaski. Luke Martin hit a 2-run double in the frame to highlight the big inning. Landon Smith got the Hilltoppers started with a 2-run triple as a part of a 3-run 3rd inning. Martin finished 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs, while Tyler Cross and Smith finished with 2 RBIs apiece. Eric Cooper added a double, finishing 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. Chance Payne struck out 9 and allowed 2 unearned runs in 6 innings. He permitted 2 hits and issued 5 walks. The Hilltoppers go to 12-0 overall and 1-0 in the Tomahawk. They travel to Lexington for a Saturday morning matchup. A 4-run 3rd inning was all the offense Wyatt Mammon needed as the senior went the distance, helping Lincoln take down Champaign Central 4-2 Thursday in non-conference high school baseball action in Lincoln. Mammon struck out 9 and allowed 2 runs. 1 was earned on 4 hits and walked 1. Michael Lucas, Griffin Shaw, and Drew Haynes drove in runs in the 4-run frame. Colby Glenn and Braden Worth doubled, each finishing 2 for 3 for the Rail Splitters. Lincoln is 6-6 overall. They will host Taylorville and Anawan Weathersfield on Saturday. DeMar DeRozan scored 39 points, and Chicago sent Detroit to their franchise record 67th loss of the season with a 127-105 win Thursday night. Detroit broke the franchise mark set by the 1979-80 team. Chicago wrapped up home court advantage in the Eastern Conference play-in game against Atlanta. Nikola Vucevic had 27 points and 11 rebounds for Chicago, while Kobe White had 18. Jalen Duran had 20 points and 11 rebounds for Detroit. Marcus Sasser scored 20. The Pistons have lost 6 straight and 14 of 15. They played without Cade Cunningham because of knee management. Chicago led by 9 going to the 3rd and slowly pulled away. DeRozan's 3-pointer made it 90-70 with 3:27 left in the 3rd. The Bulls led 99-80 at period's end. The Pistons, who allowed 34 points off turnovers, never threatened in the 4th. The Bulls led 64-55 at the half, with DeRozan and Vucevic each scoring 17. The Bulls are at Washington on Friday. William Byron held on to the lead during a 2-lap dash to the finish and led a 1-2-3 finish for Hendrick Motorsports at Martinsville, the first for a team in the track's storied history. Now the series heads to Texas Motor Speedway. The victory was Byron's 3rd in 8 races. Kyle Larson finished 2nd. Chase Elliott was 3rd on the 40th anniversary of the team's first win. Larson took over the points lead by 14 over former leader Martin Truex Jr. Despite his 3 victories, Byron is only 4th in points, 48 behind Larson. There were 13 lead changes among 8 drivers. The victory was the 29th for Hendrick on the half-mile oval, the most for any organization at the track. Byron won at Texas last fall, Practice and qualifying for the Cup Series is 9:30 Saturday morning. Race time is 2:30 Sunday afternoon. Eric Almirola grabbed the lead by going 3 wide on the outside in a 2-lap overtime dash to the finish and won at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series. The series now joins the Cup Series in Texas this weekend. Almirola led 6 times for 148 laps and his 5th career victory in the Xfinity Series. He also won $100,000 as the top finisher among 4 drivers eligible for the Dash for Cash. Chandler Smith finished 3rd and expanded his points lead to 35 over Austin Hill. Smith is the only driver to have finished in the top 10 in all 7 races. Carson Cavapel finished 4th in his series debut. The race featured 15 lead changes, 8 different leaders, and 11 cautions. Practice and qualifying is at 5 this evening. Race time is 12:30 on Sunday. Christian Eckes rallied from 19th and outran pole winner Ty Majeski at Martinsville. The Craftsman Truck Series picks back up this weekend in Texas. Eckes led the first 104 laps, then regained the lead on the 172nd of 200 laps. The victory was the second for Eckes this season. He also won on another short track at Bristol. Majeski, though, assumed the points lead over 7 over Corey Heim and Tyler Ankrum. Practice and qualifying is 3 o'clock this afternoon, and race time is 7:30 tonight. Bryson DeChambeau was plenty good in a relentless win, taking a one-shot lead over world number 1 Scotty Scheffler in a rain-delayed opening round of the Masters at Augusta, Georgia. Scheffler hasn't changed at all. The world's top player was practically flawless from tee to green. The first round could not be completed because of a 2.5-hour rain delay from overnight rain that drenched Augusta National, leaving the greens softer than they've been all week. The test came from a steady 20-mile-per-hour wind with gusts twice that strong. Among those still on the course was Tiger Woods, who was 1 under par through 13 holes when it was too dark to continue. He next faces 23 holes this morning, an endurance test for his battered legs as he tries to set the Masters record by making his 24th consecutive cut. Nikolai Højgaard of Denmark, one of 17 newcomers to the Masters, was 5 under with 3 holes to play. Max Homa was 4 under through 13. DeChambeau put on a clinic of power and putting, always a good recipe at Augusta National. He ran off 5 birdies in a 6-hole stretch on the back 9, including a 2-putt birdie on the par 5 15th when his risky shot under a pine tree cleared the water fronting the green and left him 40 feet away. Scheffler began as the 4-1 favorite according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, the shortest odds since Tiger Woods nearly 2 decades ago. Then the world number 1 came into the Masters off 2 wins and a runner-up, played as expected. It was his 9th bogey-free round of the year. Defending champ Jon Rahm never got any momentum, and bogeys on his last 2 holes sent him to a 73, leaving him 8 shots off the pace. Rory McIlroy at least did not shoot himself out of the tournament after the first round. In his 10th bid for the final leg of the career Grand Slam, he saved par with a chip from behind the 18th for a 71, the first time he's opened the Masters with a round under par since 2018. The first round was to resume at 6:50 a.m. this morning with a good forecast for the rest of the week. The Masters should be on schedule the rest of the way. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. A mix of clouds and sun today with daytime highs approaching 62. Winds out of the northwest 20 to 25 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, lows dip down to about 39. Ample sunshine expected tomorrow, highs level off around 73. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, 46.
From the Country Financial Studio, I'm Rita Frazier. This is the RFD Livestock Report. Pig farmers across the country in the nation's capital again this week, trying to remedy the impacts of Proposition 12. Pork producers, including those from Illinois. The executive director of the